How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, we are going to give our brief roster predictions for the 2020 Bears. Similar to our seasonal predictions, we are going to make this a video kind of into a series where we're going to do it a couple of times. Obviously, once training camp starts, we're going to see some updates as far as the health of players go, as far as how they're performing actually at training camp. So we'll give you a little bit more of an accurate depiction down the road on this one, but we're going to put out our first one now. Who knows if it's going to be even remotely close to what Ryan Pace ends up doing, but let's get right into it. Thank you guys for joining us. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Parth Shaw and Jaylen McClinton. It's currently 12:56 in the morning on Sunday morning. You're seeing this on Sunday night, but how's it going, fellas?
Doing good. I wanted to sleep, but here we are recording another Bears video for you guys. So, it's eat, sleep, Bears, I guess, for us.
I'm just enjoying the Memorial Day weekend, trying to finish up this work. Got 2 weeks left of school finally, but that's about it.
My goodness gracious. Yeah, it really is eat, sleep, Bears right now, and I feel like we've gotten used to this late night grind, but honestly, there's nothing better to do during this quarantine. Illinois opens up in about a week. I would like to say, if you guys are stumbling upon this video and are new to the channel, we're getting really close to 1.5k subs. Do us a favor, click that red button to subscribe. Every day we're putting out content, I can truly say that. Also, do us a favor and click the bell for notifications whenever we post, and also like the video. So this is a very interesting one. Coming into this, I thought it was going to be easy, but when you're actually cutting a roster of like 90 players down to 53 guys and a 10-person practice squad, it's pretty tough. So let's start at the top. I mean, obviously the offense. I've got quarterbacks. I've got 3 quarterbacks, and this is in the order that I have them. Quarterback 1, Nick Foles, 2, Mitchell Trubisky, and 3, Tyler Bray. Parth, I assume you have the same 3 quarterbacks, but maybe a different order?
I do have the same 3 quarterbacks in different order. I have Trubisky as quarterback 1, and Nick Foles as quarterback 2, and then I have Tyler Bray sitting on the practice squad.
Okay. So you actually had 2 quarterbacks actually making the roster.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Jaylen, I assume you have the same as Parth?
Yeah, I only have 2 quarterbacks making the roster. Number 1 is Mitchell Trubisky, and number 2 is Nick Foles.
Man, I actually probably should have thought that through and put Bray on the practice squad, but whatever. Heading into halfbacks, I've got 3. I've got David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, and then it was a tough choice, but I've got Ryan Nall actually edging out Artavis Pierce for the 3rd spot. Jaylen, passing it back to you, what are your halfbacks looking like?
I have David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, but I have a different Oregon State running back in Artavis Pierce.
Okay.
I just felt like a lot of, we talked about this multiple times on this channel. We don't know if Tariq is going to be here after 2020. So I see Artavis as being, that his backup or somebody to replace him in 2020.
Definitely an interesting point you bring up there, Ryan Nall, also someone looking for some snaps in 2020. Parth, what do you got for halfbacks?
I have the same thing as you. I have Montgomery, Tariq, and Nall.
Okay, heading into wide receivers, I've got 6, and this was a very tough one as well. I've got Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Ted Ginn Jr., Javon Wims, Riley Ridley, and Darnell Mooney. I've talked about maybe Wims getting cut in the past, but put some more thought into it. Him and Ridley are both going to make this active roster of mine. Parth, passing it back to you, how many wide receivers do you have, and what is your depth chart looking like?
I have 7 wide receivers for us, actually. I have Robinson, Miller as the top 2 wide receivers. Wide receiver 3 is Ted Ginn. Wide receiver 4 is Riley Ridley. Then I have Wims and Mooney, who are going to probably battle out for the 5 and 6 spot. I just list Cordero at number 7, but I expect him to get more snaps than the other guys, but he's more of that gadget player, so I just keep him at 7.
Yeah, I threw him in on my special teamers list. So, Jaylen, what do you got for wide receivers?
I have 6. Excuse me. I have Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Riley Ridley, Javon Wims, Cordero Patterson, and Darnell Mooney. I can definitely see Ginn making his roster, but it was definitely hard putting him on the roster over a person like Wims because he's way younger. Yes, Ginn has produced in this league way more because he's been in the league way more longer than Wims, but I just like Wims over Ginn for right now.
Makes sense. Next, we're going to head into the tight end position. Definitely the one that's gotten the most crap as far as opposing teams go this offseason for the Bears. You know, we had 10 after we drafted Cole Kmet there in the 2020 NFL Draft. But I have limited it down to 4. I've said the entire offseason, 4 to 5 tight ends. I got Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, Demetrius Harris, and J.P. Holtz. I think Jesper Horsted could make a case. You know, by the way, if I did throw Tyler Brand at practice squad, which I probably would, I would have the 5th tight end being Horsted, so I'm unofficially going to make that change. Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back to you. How many tight ends do you have? Obviously, that's a room that really needs to be cleared up.
I have 5 tight ends. I have 5. I have Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham, J.P. Holtz, not Horsted, Demetrius Harris, and Jesper Horsted. I'm a big fan of Jesper. That's why I have him making the roster. I had to cut somebody, sadly, who a lot of Bears fans might think going to make the roster. We'll find who that is later on in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Parth, very controversial tight end room. How many did you keep?
I also kept 5, like Jaylen. I went Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, and J.P. Holtz, Jesper Horsted, and Demetrius Harris.
Makes sense. So I think we all had the same tight ends there in hindsight. Next, we've got right tackle, a very interesting offensive line heading into 2020. This one might surprise you guys a little bit, but there's a player I think deserves more reps, and I think he makes it onto the 53-man roster. I've got 2 right tackles, Bobby Massey and Alex Bars, the undrafted free agent from 2019 out of Notre Dame. Jaylen, I'm going to pass it to you. Who do you have at right tackle?
I didn't break it up due to right tackle, left tackle. I just broke it up into like
Tackle.
Offensive linemen in general.
Okay.
But if I had to search, I would be Bobby Massey, Jason Spriggs, and Alex Bars as well. I feel like Alex Bars could play both guard and right tackle or tackle because he did that last season for us when we had injuries. So yeah, I'm gonna go with those.
Okay, so I'm gonna give my left tackles now because you gave all of them. So you said Massey, Bars, and Spriggs.
Yes.
So you didn't have Leno making it.
Leno, I'm tripping. Of course, Charles Leno's going to make the roster, but yeah, it's Charles Leno, Bobby Massey, Jason Spriggs, Alex Bars. Those are my tackles. I'm taking.
Our apologies. This video might be a little bit inaccurate. Just adding up all these numbers and stuff is a little bit tough to do. But for the tackles in general, I've got 4. I mentioned Massey and Bars. I've also got Leno and Jason Spriggs. Parth, who are your tackles?
I have 3 tackles making the roster, and Charles Leno, Jason Spriggs, and Bobby Massey.
Makes sense there. Let's head to the guard position. I've got 4 total guards. Jermaine Ifedi, Rashad Coward, Arlington Hambright, and James Daniels at left guard, who can also play at center. Guard's definitely really interesting. You know, the Bears lose Kyle Long this offseason. James Daniels was pretty good there alongside Cody Whitehair, who was at center. But Parth, who do you have as your guards?
I have James Daniels at left guard, right guard Ifedi as the 2 starters, and then they both have backups in Alex Bars and Rashad Coward.
Okay, interesting. Jaylen, who you got at guard?
I also have 4. I have James Daniels. I have 3. Excuse me. Wait. Yeah. I got James Daniels, Cody Whitehair, Jermaine Ifedi, and Rashad Coward. That's 4. I didn't keep Arlington Hambright or Latavius Simmons because they're 7th-round rookies. I feel like they're going to go in the practice squad and develop. And we developed them to potential rotational pieces later on in their career. I just feel like those 2 are better than any of the 8 that I have making the roster right now.
Makes sense. Sorry, it's late at night. It's 1:04 in the morning. But as far as Hambright goes, he's someone who I think is a little bit more ready to play. He was a 5th-year grad transfer from Oklahoma State to Colorado there and was pretty solid last year there for the Buffs. So last position on offense here, we've got center. I've got 1. Cody Whitehair, I said it earlier, James Daniels can slide over there to play center if need be. So that's not too much of a worry for me. So I got Cody Whitehair there at center number 1. Parth, who do you have at center?
I just got 1 center and Cody Whitehair as well.
Jaylen, same?
Same here. I just counted Cody as an interior offensive lineman, but of course Cody Whitehair is going to be our starting center.
All right, so heading to the defensive tackle, I have 3, and the defensive depth chart's a little bit different. I think some players could play at different positions, but I just went off what the depth chart that I had showed me. So I've got 3 defensive tackles in Akeem Hicks, Roy Robertson-Harris, and Brent Urban. It seems like Brent Urban and Roy Robertson-Harris are ends, but that's where they were listed, and that's who I had for them. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back to you. Who did you have at defensive tackle?
I have the same in Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, and Brent Urban. I feel like those are the three best guys at that position. Yeah, you consider Akeem and Bilal. I mean, it's Akeem and Brent, defensive ends, but I'm going with those three.
Yeah, the defensive depth chart definitely gets a little bit messed up. But Parth, I'm going to pass it to you. Who do you have at defensive tackle?
I got Hicks, Nichols, and Brent Urban, and Roy Robertson Harris.
Okay.
Next, they also play at defensive end as well. So.
Yeah, a lot of these players on the defensive line definitely versatile. We're going to head into nose tackle now. I've got Eddie Goldman and John Jenkins. Passing it back to you, Parth.
Same here, too.
All right, cool. Next, we've got defensive end. I've got two. For some reason, Bilal Nichols was mentioned here, but I had Bilal Nichols and Trevis Gibson, the fifth-round draft pick out of Tulsa there. Jaylen, who did you have at defensive end?
I just had Bilal Nichols. I consider Trevis Gibson an outside linebacker. So
Makes sense. I'm pretty sure he will play there, by the way. As I mentioned earlier, the step chart's a little bit messed up. But, Parth, who did you have at defensive end?
I had the same thing as Jaylen. I put Gibson at outside linebacker.
A little bit late. I've mentioned it before. But now we're going to head out to left outside linebacker. I've got two, Khalil Mack and Isaiah Irving. Parth, I'm passing it back to you. Obviously, you know Mack's there, but who do you have backing him up?
I have Mack, Robert Quinn, Gibson, and Irving.
Okay, so you're just going outside linebackers in general. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just to reveal the rest of my outside linebackers, I had Khalil Mack, Isaiah Irving, and I also had Robert Quinn, and then Barcavius Mingo, who's actually an outside linebacker. And then obviously you could also include Trevis Gibson in that grouping, but I had him there at defensive end. So Jaylen, reveal your outside linebackers to us.
I have Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Trevis Gibson, Isaiah Irving, and Barcavius Mingo. Those are probably one of our strongest positions on the whole roster, so hopefully they do well.
Absolutely. Next, we've got the inside linebackers, also a very controversial topic this offseason. Obviously Roquan is back and healthy, but the Kwiatkowski-Trevathan decision was made. Danny Trevathan will be back in Chicago, hoping that he'll be healthy. I've got four inside linebackers. At left inside linebacker, I got Danny Trevathan and Josh Woods. Right inside linebacker, I've got Roquan Smith and Joel Iggy. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name. I know Jaylen can do it, but Jaylen, I'm going to pass it to you now. Who are your inside linebackers?
Pretty much the same for you. Had Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith, Josh Woods, and Joel Buniwe. There you go.
All right. Parth, who do you have in inside linebackers?
I got the same four as you guys. I don't think there's much competition at the inside linebacker position. The depth kind of worries me, though. Not going to lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, especially with losing Nick.
Yeah, Josh Woods and Iggy, one of those guys definitely going to need to step up. Heading into another controversial position now, we've got the cornerbacks and safeties. We're going to go through our cornerbacks first. Obviously, a ton of great talent there in that cornerback room. A lot of tough decisions need to be made. Here come mine. I have 6. Kyle Fuller, Jalen Johnson, Buster Skrine, Kevin Tolliver, Artie Burns, and Kindle Vildor. That means the Bears would move on from Trey Roberson and also from Sherrick McManus, as tough it is to say it and see it. McManus has been incredible. I think one day if the Bears extend their Ring of Honor, I think he's someone that could probably get in there. But that being said, Kindle Vildor is a great special teamer. Artie Burns, someone who I think deserves a shot. Kevin Tolliver has definitely proven that he can do it. And obviously Jalen Johnson there at cornerback too. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it back to you. How many cornerbacks did you end up keeping?
I am going to keep 7 corners. And I actually do not keep Artie Burns. I cut Artie Burns. But I got Fuller, Jalen Johnson, Kevin Tolliver. I got Roberson, Skrine, and Duke Shelley, and Kindle Vildor all making the roster.
Interesting there with Duke Shelley. He's someone who actually, I think, ended up on my practice squad. Jaylen, how many cornerbacks did you end up keeping? I know we spoke a little bit about Sherrick McManus before we hopped on and started recording.
So I also kept 7, except I counted Sherrick McManus as a safety. That's what he was on the depth chart for me. So I kept Kyle Fuller, Jalen Johnson, Buster Skrine, Duke Shelley, Kevin Tolliver, Trey Robertson, and Kindle Vildor. For a person who talked about Artie Burns, I definitely feel like if he makes his roster, he could do some good things, given the opportunity to. But I feel like especially since we drafted 2 corners in this draft, and Jaylen Johnson and Kendall Vildor, and Artie Burns only here on a 1-year proven contract, that we keep the 2 rookies over him. So sadly, I have to cut him.
So obviously, we all think highly of those 5th-round draft picks from the 2020 NFL drafts. We all had all 3 in Mooney, Vildor, and Travis Gibson making the roster. Some solid drafting there by Ryan Pace, as long as some of those guys can pan out. Finally, last position on defense is the safety position. Obviously, the Bears adding to Sean Gibson after the draft on a veteran minimum deal. I've got 4 safeties, and I actually think the safeties are pretty strong. I've got Eddie Jackson, to Sean Gibson, Deion Bush, and Jordan Lucas to close it out there. Ended up putting DeAndre Houston Carson on my practice squad as well. And that's going to end up being 25 players on defense for me. Parth, I'm going to pass it to you. What safeties did you end up keeping?
I kept 4 as well, but I went with Jackson, Gibson, Deion Bush, and I kept DeAndre Houston Carson over, I forgot who you kept.
Jordan Lucas.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. For me, I just feel like Jordan Lucas has a little bit more pedigree in him. Obviously, DeAndre Houston Carson's great on special teams, and we definitely need that in Chicago, but I think Lucas could be great, especially coming off the bench. Like, he's someone who I think can still compete for a starting, or still would have been able to compete for a starting job. Probably would have been the starter if they don't sign to Sean Gibson. But, he can step in there if Eddie goes down. To Sean obviously slides over to free safety. And I think Jordan Lucas or Deion Bush would be great off the bench. Jaylen, how many safeties did you end up keeping?
I kept the same exact safeties as you. I kept 4. And Eddie Jackson, Tashawn Gibson, Deion Bush, and Jordan Lucas. I didn't want to cut DeAndre Houston Carson because of his special team ability, and I also had to cut Sherrick. But Jordan Lucas is just a better option for us as safety. DeAndre hasn't really paid safety here for us. He hasn't really got the opportunity other on special teams. So if one of our stars do go down like a Eddie or Tashawn, God hope they don't. But I feel like Jordan Lucas could come in and be serviceable more than Houston Carson can.
Absolutely. So looking at my roster now, I have 4 more spots heading into the special teamers. I've got Eddie Pinheiro at kicker, Pat O'Donnell at punter, Patrick Scales at long snapper, and Cordero Patterson as kind of just the return man. I know you guys both mentioned Cordero in your wide receiver group, so I'm assuming Parth and Jaylen, you guys both have 3 players here?
Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
Pinheiro,
Scales, Pinheiro, O'Donnell.
And Pat Scales.
Yep. Makes sense. All right,
Yeah.
So that is our 53-man rosters. But now let's go into the practice squad. This is a little bit interesting because obviously a lot of developmental pieces that the Bears can hold on to. So I'm going to go off my practice squad first. I know you guys were still working on it before we recorded here. I've got 10, obviously, 10. I think it's getting increased to 12 soon, but that might not be till 2021. So I've got Tyler Bray. That is if I sub in Jesper Horsted, which I will make the executive decision to do. Dieter Easelin, the offensive line undrafted free agent out of Yale. Badara Traore, the offensive line undrafted free agent out of LSU. I've got Lachavious Simmons there. Artavis Pierce, because obviously I chose Ryan Null over him. Ramiz Ahmed, the kicker. I've got 2 cornerbacks in Duke Shelley and Michael Joseph. I've got the safety in DeAndre Houston Carson. And finally, to end it off with an absolute bang, you know who it is. It's Ladarius Mack there, making the last spot on the practice squad. Parth, I'm going to pass it to you now. Who's on your practice squad if you had to predict 10?
I got quarterback Tyler Bray, running back Artavis Pierce, wide receiver Thomas Ives, a guy who just to watch out for. I feel like he can be a really great camp body too. And then I also kept another tight end in Ben Broniker, another solid special teams player, so I think he could sub in if we have tight end injuries. The 2 offensive linemen that we drafted in the 7th round, Arlington Hamright and Lachavious Simmons. Then I kept a defensive backup D lineman in Abdullah Anderson, Khalil Mack's little brother, Lee Mack for sure. And then I kept the 7th round corner that we took from Valdosta State last year instead, Steven Denmark, and then kicker Ramiz Ahmed, just in case if something happens to Pinheiro.
Very interesting one there. I mean, obviously, when it comes to the practice squad, there's so many players that you think can blossom into something better. So it's actually kind of tough to make these choices. I mean, looking forward to our future, the Bears have done some good things with some undrafted free agents in the past and late-round draft picks in general, and that's where a lot of these guys on the practice squad fall from. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back to you. Who do you have making your 10-person practice squad?
So my practice squad was completely different from yours. Or you guys' I kept our 2 7th-round offensive linemen in Arlington Hambright and Latavius Simmons. Of course, I kept Lee Mack, Stephen Denmark, our former 7th-round pick from 2019. I also kept wide receiver Thomas Eyes. Ryan Nall, I think this is the last year we can have him on our practice squad. So if he does beat out Artavius Pierce, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I have our former guest in Napoleon Maxwell, Abdullah Anderson, cornerback Xavier Crawford, and I kept tight end Darian Clark, who was a former basketball player who we just signed. So I didn't keep a quarterback. I know it's probably smart to keep a quarterback due to both of our quarterbacks getting injured in the last couple seasons. But if I hope both of these quarterbacks don't get hurt. But I feel like it would be just smarter to bring in a person to just back up whoever starts for whichever one gets hurt.
100%. That's pretty much going to do it for this episode, guys. You heard our 53-man roster prediction as well as our practice squad prediction. Hopefully, as training camp opens up and stuff, we're going to be getting out there multiple times a week, not only taking good notes and getting like video clips and stuff for you guys there, but just gaining more knowledge and getting a more accurate depiction on who that 53-man roster and practice squad is going to consist of. If you want more content from us, head over to our website, beardown.com. You can find columns, articles, and blogs over there. Posting 1 to 2 articles a day on there. It's a lot of fun. You can also follow our Instagram fan pages. The links to those are down in the description. And while you are on social media, do us a favor and follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at beardown. 1:17 a.m. here in the suburban Chicago. Parth, Jaylen McClinton, any last words, fellas?
I'm about to head to bed, boys. I'm super tired.
That's crazy because it's only 11 o'clock over here, so I'm wide awake. Like, I'm not tired at all. But make sure you guys are staying safe and bear down.
I feel like it rains on the weekends in Chicagoland, Parth. I don't know if you realize that, but I feel like it just get terrible storms on the weekend, dude.
It actually didn't really rain here as much as I heard it rained in
No,
the other
dude,
parts
yeah,
of
it was
Chicago.
like
since
standing
we're
water.
talking about this, where I live in Illinois, right now I'm in Arizona. I keep talking about it, but where I live, most of my town got flooded. Actually, my house got flooded, which is kind of crazy because I've never seen nothing like that before. But
yeah,
I heard some crazy storms going on in Illinois right now.
Slip and slide galore, I guess you could call it. But obviously, the stay-at-home order getting lifted soon. The NFL Vice President of Playing Operations said today that they hope that stadiums will be full. Personally, I don't see that as a realistic option, but any capacity is better than no capacity, and at this point, football is better than no football. Plans are getting put forth for a 24-team NHL playoff. The MLB is planning to return without fans in June, and it's looking like the NBA is going to return without fans in Orlando and possibly Las Vegas in July. A lot of sports to look forward to soon. Hoping this all continues to get better. Just continue to keep your heads up, stay positive about it. And it's been a pleasure to be your host tonight. Once again, my name is Chris Maltby. As always, Bears fans, continue to stay safe, flatten the curve, and as always, most importantly, bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.